The Ascension, Acts 1, verses 10 through 11. As they were looking on, he was lifted up, and a cloud took him from their sight. While they were looking intently at the sky as he was going, suddenly 2 men dressed in white garments stood beside them. They said, "Men of Galilee, why are you standing there looking at the sky? This Jesus who has been taken up from you into heaven will return in the same way as you have seen him going into heaven." The Ascension, I remember when the bus pulled up and we got out, and the guide said that we can't take our big bus up there because it was the top of the mountain.
Because that's on the Mount of Olives?
That's what it said on the internet.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And
Okay.
and it was too far to walk up, and it was windy, so we took these smaller buses on the way up. And when you're coming up and there's a bus coming down, you just barely get by each other. And I remember they were all hot days, but this, because I remember getting up to the top, and the bus drops you off, and then you walk up a little more to this church, and just the breeze was just so refreshing. And we went into the church, and then along the side of the church, you could walk up some more stairs and get right towards the top of the church and look out over the countryside. And it was a clear day, very beautiful. You could see for a long, long way. And just again, getting the feeling that, okay, this is where he said goodbye temporarily.
Yeah.
Right? And again, if you could just imagine what was going through the
apostles' minds.
Yeah, they see him lifting up into the clouds, and then the 2 angels that talk to him.
Because I know you had the reading, but I think just before that, weren't they asking him just before his ascension, is that they were saying, "Are you now going to establish the new Jerusalem?" Or
they wanted it right away.
They're trying to figure out what's going to happen, and
it's
like then the angels come and say, "Well, he'll come back the same way he left." Yeah. Which is kind of a bizarre thing to think about. Is like, okay, he's going to come back to that same spot. Like where that rock is.
Right.
He's going to come back in that same spot. That's what the Bible
says.
When
we were in the garden.
Gethsemane, or garden off by himself.
Well, I remember seeing that area where he prayed, and the apostles couldn't stay awake.
Yeah.
And that we saw that late in the day, and then the next day when we were in, and Jerusalem still has the wall around it with the different doors, or the gates to get in.
Yep.
And there's one gate which is just very close to that garden. And there's one gate that they do not have open because they believe that when he returns, he's going to come through that gate as a king.
Yeah, interesting.
And come up to the temple.
They think the gate's going to stop him.
No, I think it's the 8th gate.
Yeah.
And I again, that was a while ago, but I just thought that was so impressive that he leaves, right?
Yeah.
And when he returns, he's going to return as a king, obviously, and come to the New Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And there's a gate that they will not use because they assume that's where he's going to come through.
Wow, it's true.
But it was just a nice. Again, that was the guide.
Yeah.
That mentioned that.
Huh.
I think there are 8 gates.
Oh, is there that many? Because like you hear the Zion gate and then the west wall. So it's which one did you go through to get into the temple, or did you went into the temple, right?
We couldn't go into. We went into the temple area. Yeah, the courtyard around the temple. In that garden.
Yeah.
That the Lutherans believe that is right by one of the gates.
Okay. Yeah, I would assume it'd be that Zion gate because that's close to the upper room. Because I thought the upper room was right outside that Zion gate.
Could have been. Yeah.
Yeah. That's wow.
So, to the best of my knowledge, Ron, this is a picture of where he ascended.
The stone.
You see Father Doug touching that stone,
the place where he
touching that
stood,
area, footprint.
The last place where he stood.
Right.
And it looks like it's been touched a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
But again, the mountain was very It was, I mean, you could, like I said, look out.
Out in the Sea of
Yeah,
Galilee's there, and you
Right.
can see all the little.
And of course, there's a
Cana.
church where you could have mass. We didn't have mass there,
Oh.
but you could have mass.
Sure.
Mass in that church.
Yeah, because then, like, the apostles witnessed that, and you kind of make the connection between when they're in the upper room and they're kind of hiding and scared, and then Jesus appears back to them, and somehow they are able to come out and be in public because Jesus is alive now, and so there's that period of time when people are seeing Jesus, and so like that's the last time they see him, and they've already received the Holy Spirit, right?
I thought it was
Pentecost happens after they go back to the upper room.
I think so.
And, yeah.
But I think
So
it was the Ascension first.
The Ascension happens, and then they go back to the upper room, and then they have
They
Pentecost.
receive the Holy Spirit and the gifts of the
Yeah.
Holy Spirit, and Peter
And-
goes out and converts
And yeah, that's what's
2,000 or 3,000
that's
people.
what shocks me is like, okay, here they are scared in this upper room and can't even go be seen out in public, and then all of a sudden this Pentecost happens and they're just like changed people.
You know what I'm thinking
You know?
when you're saying this, like a roller coaster ride.
I know.
Like, whoa,
Yeah.
and down,
Yeah,
and then
no,
up.
right,
Yeah.
You can imagine what that just is amazing.
Yeah.
And now they had the power to kind of do what Jesus did and carry on his mission.
A couple of other random things. The people were very friendly.
Yeah.
We landed in Tel Aviv, and we spent the night in Tel Aviv, which was very cool. The hotel we stayed at just across the street was the Mediterranean Sea. And we got in on a Friday, and the guide said, don't take the elevator, this elevator on Saturday, because they have the Shabbat elevator, which stops at every floor. Because if you push, that's work. But it amazed me the number of people that honored the Sabbath. Stores being closed, even McDonald's, because there was a McDonald's real close. I went Saturday morning. That can't be closed. So that was very cool that they honored that. And also on the Sabbath, we noticed a lot of people on the beaches, relaxing, families, honoring that day. And like I said, the people were very friendly. Never felt in danger at all. And just, it was very cool watching them and listening to them talk. An example, again, the guide, said, Jews and Arabs don't get along, right? But he said, we get along. He said, for example, our bus driver's an Arab, and I'm a Jew. And you've watched us several days get along very, very well. And I did ask the guide once, they were talking, he was talking to the driver, and the driver was talking back to him, and they are loud. I mean, like, really loud, talking back and forth. And I said, are you mad at him? Are you yelling at him? Why are you so loud? We're not that loud in America. And he goes, no, that's just the way we are. Yeah. We want to be heard. We want to make our point. We're very adamant, very passionate about what we believe. Both, the Arabs and the Jews. And we're not mad at each other. We're just communicating in the way we communicate over here. And I'm going, wow. And then I noticed more and more of that.
You probably, if you murmur behind your breath, under your breath, it's almost like an insult.
What did you say? Yeah, you don't have to ask that question. You could hear very, very well.
Yeah, that's
and the heart of the people. An example: we were done touring, and it was towards the end of the day. And I mean, you're tired, right? You want to get back to the hotel, eat, and he said, "Well, we can have one more stop if you like." And it's a store, a merchandise store. It's got great artifacts, rugs, statues, anything you want to buy. It's all authentic. But he said what's cool about this store is the people that make these goods to be sold all have a physical challenge. And this is how they make their living. So he said, is it okay if we stop? And we said, yeah, absolutely. And I bet you we spent a good hour in there. People were buying stuff, and they ship it, of course, back to the U.S. We had a chance to meet some of the people that actually made these artifacts. Very, very proud, and take a lot of pride in their work. And that was just a sidebar, but it was just really cool to talk to them.
Sure.
And they wanted to know what America was like, and is it like Chicago, cops and robbers? stuff like that.
That's
but
what they hear, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's their impression.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But that was something very, very cool.
That is neat.
And they weren't opposed, not so much in this store, but just in the general marketplace to barter. To go back and forth. I'll give you this. I'll give you that. I'll give you.
Sure. That's I can imagine that's what they want to have.
We had somebody on the tour that, when we were in Jerusalem, wanted to go get a Harley Davidson T-shirt. Made Jerusalem Harley Davidson T-shirt, and it was just logistically too impossible at the time, and all that kind of stuff. And so we were just in a marketplace, and they were selling them, so he was able to get us.
Oh, that's kind of special.
Yeah.
Put those two together.
One other thing that impressed me too was we journeyed to the place where Elizabeth and Mary met.
Oh, yeah.
Where she does the Magnificat.
Magnificat.
The Magnificat,
yeah.
right? And
so that's Elizabeth's home, right?
Correct.
In Zechariah.
And I didn't know this. Again, the guide told me that Elizabeth and Zechariah had a vineyard.
Oh.
So he said the chances are when Mary got there, they were out in the vineyard. So you picture it in the house, right?
Yeah.
He said probably happened out in the vineyard, where she went out to meet her. And the church that we had Mass at was on a huge hill. And what was so cool in the church, the church was surrounded by artwork honoring the women of the Bible. And we had Mass in there, and I had a chance to preach, but the powerful was just looking around, and you don't realize, the number of women that,
great stories.
Yeah, and Jesus, of course, was very happy to have women with him, and treated them with respect. And
that's great.
I know there's a rumor that's why Christianity grew very quickly, because of the way that the women were treated in that ministry. But that was another sidebar that was just very, very, very cool.